India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next hour. Israel strikes in the heart of Beirut, targeting health center affiliated with Hezbollah. Suburb of Dahia also hit. G7 hopeful for diplomatic solution in the region. Thousands in southeastern US reel without water and power days after Helene's destruction. Biden and Harris survey storm damage in key election states. Search and rescue ops continue. Taiwan braces for Typhoon Krathon. The island shut down for a second day with hundreds of flights grounded and financial markets closed. Government warns of storm surge along the coast. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's monthly radio program Mann Ki Baat completes 10 years. The program continues to inspire, educate and enthrall millions. Hindus across the world celebrate Navratri festival for 9 days to mark Goddess Durga's hard-fought battle over demon Mahishasur. Devotees worship Ma Durga and her 9 avatars with prayers, fasting and special foods. And on to the top story of this hour. Israel launched an airstrike early on Thursday morning targeting the health authority center affiliated with Hezbollah, killing 6 people. Israeli military said it conducted precise strikes in central Beirut's Bachora neighborhood close to parliament. The nearest Israeli strikes have come to Lebanon's seat of government. At least 6 people were killed and 7 wounded in the strikes. While 3 missiles also hit the southern suburb of Dahia, where Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah was killed last week. This comes a day after Iran fired over 180 missiles into Israel, drawing condemnation and even stringent retaliation from Tel Aviv. And amidst heightened tensions between Iran and Israel on Gaza and Lebanon, efforts are stopping the conflict turning into a regional war has started. Amir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, has said that he will continue initiatives for peace. G7, India and Russia too have called for restraint and engage into talks by all concerned parties. Find more in DD India's Akhilesh Suman's report.
A day after Iran launched about 200 missiles targeting Israel, Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian landed in Qatar to consult and consolidate support in West Asia. He met the Emir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, and said that Tehran does not look for war.
We are not looking for war. It is Israel that forces us to react. Israel assassinated our guest in Tehran on the presidential inauguration day. What we want from US and European countries is to tell the entity they have planted in the region to stop the bloodshed.
Pezeshkian is considered a liberal among the Irani politicians and is keen to have good relations with the West. He urged the United States and the European countries to dwell upon Israel from destabilizing the region. Emir of Qatar is playing a role of the mediator between Hamas and Israel. He said that Doha would continue its mediation efforts to end the war. He also reiterated the need for a 2-state solution for permanent peace in the region.
We reiterate that the 2-state solution and the establishment of an independent Palestinian state on the 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital is the key to achieve a durable and lasting peace in the region.
Meanwhile, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni held an emergency meeting of the G7 nations on Wednesday, and leaders in a statement said that a region-wide conflict is in no one's interest and that a diplomatic solution is still possible. US President Joe Biden also urged Israel to act proportionally against its regional arch foe. On Wednesday, Biden also said that he would not support any Israeli strike on Iran's nuclear sites in response to the ballistic missile attack.
We'll be discussing with the Israelis what they're going to do, but all 7 of us agree that they have a right to respond, but they should respond in proportion.
India has also urged all concerned parties to maintain restraint and has pushed for diplomatic efforts to end the war. Akhilesh Suman's report for DD India.
Well, UK Defence Minister John Healey spoke to Israeli counterpart Yoav Gallant to express total condemnation of Iran's massive missile attack against Israel. In a social media post, Healey said, and I quote, "I set out the UK's continuing steadfast commitment to Israel's security. We must avoid further escalation and secure an immediate ceasefire in Lebanon and Gaza," unquote. Meanwhile, the Gulf Cooperation Council has affirmed its support for Lebanon during such a critical stage. It also called for an immediate ceasefire in the Gaza Strip late on Wednesday after holding an extraordinary ministerial meeting in Doha. The meeting was held to discuss the latest regional developments. The Council also condemned the escalation of conflict in Lebanon and the occupied Palestinian territories, calling on all involved parties to exercise self-restraint and refrain from violence. And various countries, including the US, the UK, Germany, Spain and Slovakia, continue to evacuate their citizens from Lebanon to evade the escalating crisis. A charter flight taking British citizens out of Lebanon arrived at Birmingham International Airport on Wednesday. Earlier in the day, British Foreign Minister David Lammy said that more such flights were planned in the coming days. Britain has urged nationals to leave Lebanon immediately. Germany, too, continues its evacuation of non-essential staff and vulnerable citizens from Lebanon. Germany's Airbus arrived in Beirut with 5 tons of relief supplies and will bring back 130 particularly vulnerable Germans. The German Foreign Ministry raised its crisis level for missions in Beirut, Ramallah and Tel Aviv again at the weekend, though the embassies there remain operational. There are currently 1,800 registered German citizens in Lebanon, of which some 110 people were evacuated on Monday. The United States, too, organized a flight that carried about 100 American citizens and their relatives out of Lebanon. Besides, Spain and Slovakia are also preparing evacuation of its citizens and other EU nationals using military planes. And for more, we have Akshay Dongre joining us from the newsroom. Well, Akshay, Israel retaliated the missiles attack by striking in the heart of Beirut and in Gaza. But the big question here is what happens next? Where do we see all this going?
Well, it's all speculation for now, Lipakshi, because the crisis of this magnitude can go either way. It can in fact turn into a full-blown war. Or if mediation is done by the powers across the world responsibly, then the conflict that has been going on for about a year now can actually be slowed down now, with both the sides having attacked each other. Now there is no point for both of the countries to destroy each other. In fact, when it comes to Iranian regime, it doesn't want to attack Israel and then face repercussions by a counter-attack by both Israel and the US and other countries that may be targeting Iranian territory and its allies as far as an attack is concerned. Similarly, Israel doesn't want to attack Iran, or rather should not be attacking Iran and then forcing a retaliation from Iran and other allies in the region. Israel has an understanding that Iran is a major power of the region. It has support from several other countries of that part of the world. So it is going to be a very tricky question that where do we see this conflict going from here? Because it is a question that has been giving sleepless nights to even the security experts in that region and across the world. A possible outcome of a war is the total devastation of the region and devastation to the global economy as well. Global trade, the Mediterranean region is a major source, major trade route for the world when it comes to oil input and oil output for the world. The West Asian region is extremely important. So it remains to be seen that how caution will be exercised by Israel and Iran. But from what we are seeing right now with Israel continuing with the attacks, aerial attacks on Lebanon, it doesn't seem that the Israeli leadership, despite the statement that has come from Joe Biden, is willing to slow down the attacks on Hezbollah targets and in Lebanese territory, which can in fact attract a further conflict between Iran and Israel. But for now, the conflict has slowed down a bit, but it remains to be seen that till when will this lull continue as far as the Iran-Israel conflict is concerned.
Right, Akshay, but because of the fear of large-scale, because of this fear, large-scale evacuations are going on from Lebanon, and also Biden spoke to G7 leaders who in return said that they are still hopeful for a diplomatic solution in the region. Can we see any kind of hope there?
Well, from what we are hearing, both UK rather and France have conveyed to the US leadership that there should not be any retaliation coming in from Israel anymore towards Iran. And countries may not even include themselves as far as a large-scale attack against Iran is concerned from Israeli side, and that countries like the United Kingdom and France will not be supporting Israel if a large-scale attack is conducted on Iran. Because the countries now realize, even the NATO members now realize that a large-scale war is not in favor of any country. Israel may attack to appease the domestic politics as far as the Iranian leadership is concerned, or further targets in Lebanon and other countries in the region, but it is not in favor of a lasting peace. Israel has to understand that it is surrounded by a lot of these countries that are anti-Israel, and the peace can only come for Israel as well through diplomacy, and that has been the stand of the Indian government as well, that a lasting peace will come only through diplomacy and not through aggression. And it remains to be seen that this statement that has come in from countries like the UK and France, urging Israel to not attack Iranian territory, or they will not get support from countries like UK and France. It remains to be seen that whether the Israeli leadership will be forced to reconsider the kind of wars that it has taken to retaliate against the Iranian leadership and the country.
All right. All-out war, of course, is of no interest to anyone. Meanwhile, also Israel barred entry to UN Chief Guterres from entering the country for not strongly condemning Iran's missile attack, reflecting broader Israeli frustration with the UN. How do we see this?
Well, that's the perspective of the Israeli leadership. Obviously, it is quite shocking to see the Israeli leadership barring the United Nations General Secretary. But the UN GenSec is not a partisan member of any country. He's heading United Nations, and though the organization, yes, it has failed on many occasions as far as prevention of a conflict is concerned, but it has condemned both Hamas attack on Israel. It has also, United Nations has condemned Israeli retaliation, which has been it was not a calibrated or when it comes to a proportionate response, it was not that. And similar thing has been said by Joe Biden as well. So that has also been criticized by the UN GenSec, and perhaps that is why the United Nations has been taking a middle ground, has been taking a stand, a neutral stand, and that has been frustrating Israel, because unlike the US, the United Nations has not been in open support of Israeli actions, both in Hamas, against Hamas and Hezbollah. So it seems that this is in a way a show of frustration by the Israeli leadership as well. Lipakshi?
All right, Akshay, thank you so much for all those details. And now, latest update on Russia-Ukraine conflict. A Russian-guided bomb struck a high-rise apartment block in Kharkiv, Ukraine's second-largest city, late on Wednesday. Regional governor said the bomb struck between the third and fourth floors of the building located in the Saltivka district, and also had injured at least 10 people. In light of the ongoing attacks, President Volodymyr Zelensky emphasized the need for increased assistance from Ukraine's Western allies. Earlier, Russian drones also attacked port infrastructure in Ukraine's southern Odessa region, damaging a grain facility and buildings at a border crossing to Romania. Meanwhile, Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said on Wednesday that Russia has dismissed the possibility of nuclear talks with the United States, citing Washington's stance on NATO expansion.
In order for Washington to reconsider its extremely hostile anti-Russian course, a conversation with the US on strategic issues, including nuclear arms control, is meaningless for Russia. Moreover, it is simply counterproductive. In the long term, we see no point in the strategic dialogue with Washington outside of comprehensive work on general reduction of the level of conflict in relations with respect for the Russia's fundamental interest and with an emphasis on eliminating the fundamental contradictions in the field of security created by the United States of America and NATO.
Well, on the other hand, Russian troops have taken complete control of the eastern city of Volodar, which Ukrainian forces have been defending since the beginning of Moscow's full-scale invasion 2.5 years ago. Ukraine's Eastern Military Command confirmed on Wednesday that Ukrainian troops received an order to pull back troops from the embattled eastern hilltop town of Volodar to avoid encirclement by the Russian troops.
Long-lasting battles, the enemy did not give up the attempts to capture Volda. Trying to take control over the town at any cost, it managed to direct reserve forces to perform flank strikes that tired out Ukraine's armed forces units. As a result of the enemy's actions, a threat of besiegement arose. Senior command granted permission to carry out a maneuver to withdraw units from Volda in order to preserve personnel and military equipment and to take positions for further actions.
And still to come in DD India News Hour. Mass protest in Argentina against university budget cuts by President Javier Milei's government. We'll give you an update on the relief operations in flood-affected Indian state of Bihar. And Morocco takes a unique initiative to mitigate the impact of water scarcity. Stay tuned to know more of it. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, former President Donald Trump's presidential running mate J.D. Vance returned to the campaign trail a day after squaring off with Democratic rival Tim Walz on the debate stage in New York. Telling a crowd at a Michigan rally he thought the debate went pretty well, Vance added that he felt a little sorry for Governor Walz because he has to defend the indefensible. Vance made an appeal to crucial swing voters in the automaking state, arguing he and Trump would do more to preserve the jobs of Michigan workers who make gas-powered vehicles compared to Harrison Walz. Meanwhile, Democratic vice presidential candidate Tim Walz held a rally in York, Pennsylvania, just one day after the vice presidential debate. The debate is likely the final one of the 2024 presidential campaign, potentially giving it some extra weight ahead of the election. Walz took aim at his Republican opponent, Senator J.D. Vance, calling him a slick talker. He also pointed to a critical question he posed during the debate, whether Donald Trump lost the 2020 election. And a U.S. judge on Wednesday made public a court filing in which federal prosecutors laid out their evidence accusing former President Donald Trump of illegally trying to overturn his 2020 election defeat. The 165-page filing is likely the last opportunity for prosecutors to detail their case against Trump before U.S. election, given there will not be a trial before Trump faces Democratic Vice President Kamala Harris. The filing lays out a sweeping account of Trump's conduct following the 2020 election, much of which has already been made public through news reports. And Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump's campaign, together with the Republican Party, raised over $160 million in September, boosting their cash reserves to $283 million, his campaign revealed on Wednesday. This marks a 23% surge from August's $130 million haul. Trump faces a close contest against Democratic Vice President Kamala Harris in the upcoming November 5th election, with both campaigns flooding battleground states with ads. Harris, however, holds a financial edge, raising $361 million in August and an additional $55 million at two events last weekend. Democrats' official September figures are yet to be released by the Harris campaign. And on to some news from UK now. In a pivotal step towards reshaping post-Brexit relations, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen agreed on Wednesday to fast-track a reset in UK-EU cooperation. Starmer, fresh from the July election victory, pledged not to renegotiate the entire Brexit deal, but aims to refine ties in key areas like security and economic collaboration. Both leaders expressed a shared desire for a joint security pact, though challenges surrounding trade and immigration remain. Regular EU-UK leader summits have been planned, with the first one set for early 2025, signalling a new chapter in the relationship. Starmer acknowledged hurdles ahead, but insisted the focus is on progress, not confrontation.
There will be issues which are difficult to resolve, and on areas on which we will stand firm. There will be no return to freedom of movement, no return to the customs union, no return to the single market. But we will find constructive ways to work together and deliver for the British people.
Well, in Argentina, hundreds of thousands of students protested in the streets against sharp spending cuts at public universities by President Javier Milei's government. The protest came in response to the Milei administration's threat to vote a law passed by Congress several weeks ago to secure university funding. In April, a similar mass demonstration forced Milei to retract the university budget cuts. However, authorities from universities claimed that the government failed to follow through on the promised improvements. The University of Buenos Aires, one of the top 100 universities worldwide, has been adversely affected by the cuts. The cuts imposed these institutions functioning since Milei assumed office in December. And Singapore's former Transport Minister S. Iswaran has pleaded guilty to corruption charges, marking a rare graft trial in the city-state known for its clean governance. As court proceedings began on Tuesday, the case has captivated the public, highlighting a breach of the nation's well-paid and efficient bureaucracy. Iswaran, a cabinet member since 2006, became the first Singaporean minister to face trial, accused of receiving lavish kickbacks worth hundreds of thousands of dollars from property tycoon Ong Beng Seng. The gifts were allegedly given to advance Ong's business interest, though Ong himself has not been charged. Iswaran, who previously denied the allegations, resigned following his arrest in July last year. And tensions on Mexico's southern border escalated as 6 migrants were killed after Mexican soldiers opened fire on a group traveling in a pickup truck that had tried to evade a military patrol, the Defense Ministry reported on Wednesday. The incident occurred near Huixtla, close to the Guatemalan border, as the military pursued the truck, followed by vehicles resembling those used by criminal groups. Soldiers reported hearing explosions before firing, resulting in 4 deaths at the scene and 2 more later in the hospital. The incident brings renewed scrutiny on Mexico's migrant policies and the military's expanding role in security amid U.S. pressure to curb migration. The 2 soldiers involved have been removed and investigations are underway by federal and military authorities. Well, tensions flared in Mexico City on Wednesday as students and demonstrators clashed with the police during a protest marking the 56th anniversary of 1968 Tlatelolco Square massacre. Footage captured protesters, some wearing black masks, throwing objects and Molotov cocktails at heavily armed police in the Mexico City mayor's office. Demonstrators condemned the state for its alleged complicity in the 1968 massacre and the ongoing lack of justice. In that incident, security forces stormed a student protest in downtown Mexico City, resulting in a minimum of 30 deaths. Though some witnesses and human rights groups believe the death toll could be as high as 300. And 6 days after Hurricane Helene slammed into Florida, it carved a destructive path through much of the U.S. southeast, killing more than 160 people. United States President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris also visited South Carolina on Wednesday to assess the damage brought by Hurricane Helene. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris visited South Carolina, North Carolina and Georgia on Wednesday to see firsthand the devastation brought in the U.S. Southeast by Hurricane Helene, which has killed at least 160 people. Earlier this week, Trump visited Georgia. Presidents and presidential candidates usually do not visit a storm-hit region immediately because of fears they will distract from rescue efforts and divert resources from local law enforcement officials and emergency responders. But the poll season has altered the matrix. More importantly so for the candidates and the political parties, North Carolina and Georgia are among 7 key battleground states in the November 5th election, which is expected to be won by thin margins. Biden landed in Greer, South Carolina, before boarding Marine One for an aerial tour of the region. From the helicopter, Biden could see the grim devastation brought to parts of North Carolina, including Asheville and Chimney Rock. Many of the people living in the area remained cut off from contact with the outside world, even as the U.S. president passed overhead. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris visited Augusta, Georgia, to meet with victims and announce federal funds to cover local costs following the storm.
The President and I have been paying close attention from the beginning to what we need to do to make sure the federal resources hit the ground as quickly as possible. And that includes what was necessary to make sure that we provided direct federal assistance.
Former President Donald Trump, a Republican running against Harris in this year's presidential election, has falsely claimed that Biden, a Democrat, has been unresponsive to the hurricane's destruction, an allegation local officials deny.
In a moment like this, we put politics aside. At least we should put it all aside, and we have here. There are no Democrats or Republicans, only Americans. And our job is to help as many people as we can, as quickly as we can, and as thoroughly as we can.
Before leaving Washington, Biden directed up to 1,000 active duty troops to help with response and recovery efforts. Almost 6,000 members of the National Guard are deployed across the 6 states affected by the storm. Biden will head to Georgia and Florida on Thursday. Harris will travel to North Carolina in the coming days. Hurricane Helene slammed into Florida on Thursday as a powerful Category 4 hurricane before tearing a destructive path through southeastern states for several days. Bureau Report, DD India. And Taiwan on Thursday girded itself for the arrival of a weekend Typhoon Krathon, which has killed 2 people so far. The island is shut for the consecutive second day, with hundreds of flights grounded and financial markets closed. Krathon is forecast to make landfall around midday at the major southwestern port city of Kaohsiung as a much weaker Category 2 typhoon. Typhoon is forecast to slowly work its way up Taiwan's flat western plain and weaken further into a tropical depression by late on Friday. And in Nepal, the death toll from the recent floods and landslides so far has reached 233, while 22 others are still missing. At least 169 people were injured in the disaster. According to the Home Ministry, 17,120 people have been rescued so far from flood and landslide affected areas. The government has given high priority to rescue and relief efforts and is working to repair the disaster-hit highways and operate the means of transport by creating temporary bridges on destroyed bridges due to flood. And while in India, Air Force helicopter conducted relief operation in flood-affected Bihar's Darbhanga, the district administration too delivered relief materials to the affected people. Due to waterlogging in schools, 107 government schools have been asked to remain closed till further orders. However, it is a matter of relief that there is a slight decline in the water level of Kamla Balan and Kosi rivers. The flood water level in the village has also decreased during the past 2 days. National and state disaster forces teams are also deployed in relief and rescue operations. Assisting them are the NDRF and district administration, coordinating efforts to ensure that relief materials are efficiently delivered to those in need. And Salman Haider is joining us for more from Patna on this. Well, Salman, as the water levels are receding now, situation is slightly better. How are the relief and rescue operations going?
Yes, Lipakshi, the water has receded in almost all the major rivers, including Gandak, Bagmati, Kosi, and Kamla Balan. But the water has spread in more areas, and now, as per Department of Disaster Management, the number of flood-affected districts has increased to almost 70. Earlier, the number was 30. But rescue and relief operation is going on full swing. More than 1.2 million people are so far affected, out of which 3.5 lakh people have been rescued from the flood-affected areas. So the situation has slightly improved right now, but the relief operations by the Air Force and Disaster Management Department is going on, and also the SDRF and NDRF teams, 31 teams are deployed there to reach the relief and material to the people. Okay. Yes, Lipakshi.
All right, Salman. Also, till when can we expect things to become a little normalized as the schools are also closed and essential services are disrupted?
See, Lipakshi, there is sludge and mud in all the flood-affected areas. So it will take time to come back to normal life. It may take a week or so. Because people are not yet ready to go to their dwellings, as most of the structures have got damaged due to severe flood. And even there are chances of disease there, because mud and sludge and carcasses of the cattle are there in flood-affected areas. So it may take almost a week to restore to normal life. Yes, Lipakshi.
All right, Salman, thank you so much for all those details from Bihar. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. On the second day of the week-long National Day holiday, over 200,000 tourists travel to Hong Kong to take part in cultural activities. Hong Kong University is being one of the key tourist spots during this National Day holiday. Morocco has implemented desalination projects to secure its water supply. In the coastal city of Safia, a project to supply drinking water through seawater desalination has been set in motion. By utilizing seawater, Morocco aims to meet its growing water demands and mitigate the impact of water scarcity. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Festive fervour of Durga Puja grips India. Will show you the journey of preparation across India. SC to hear Tirupati Laddu Prasad procurement and distribution petitions today. And Nagaland gears up for 10-day Silver Jubilee Hornbill Festival 2024 scheduled in December.
मेरे प्यारे देशवासियों, आज विजयादशमी का पावन पर्व है। मैं आज रेडियो के माध्यम से आपसे कुछ मन की बातें बताना चाहता हूँ। मन की बात की हमारी इस यात्रा को 10 साल पूरे हो।
मन की बात में पॉजिटिविटी को सेलिब्रेट करते हैं, हम इसमें पीपल्स पार्टिसिपेशन को भी सेलिब्रेट करते हैं।
Mann Ki Baat echoes with every Indian and with every Indian's heart because it's their Mann Ki Baat. It's their talk of the heart-to-heart conversation between every Indian and their leader, their Prime Minister, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Mann Ki Baat.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Israel strikes in the heart of Beirut, targeting health center affiliated with Hezbollah. Suburb of Dahia also hit. G7 hopeful for diplomatic solution in the region. Thousands in southeastern U.S. reel without water and power days after Helene's destruction. Biden and Harris survey storm damage in key election states. Search and rescue ops continue. Taiwan braces for Typhoon Krathon. The island shut down for a second day with hundreds of flights grounded and financial markets closed. Government warns of storm surge along the coast. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's monthly radio program Mann Ki Baat completes 10 years. The program continues to inspire, educate and enthrall millions. Hindus across the world celebrate Navratri festival for 9 days to mark Goddess Durga's hard-fought battle over demon Mahishasur. Devotees worship Ma Durga and her 9 avatars with prayers, fasting and special foods. And moving on, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's monthly radio program Mann Ki Baat completes 10 years. As it crosses a milestone of a decade, the program continues to inspire, educate and empower millions. Watch this special report by DD India's Tripti Tripathi.
मेरे प्यारे देशवासियों, नमस्कार।
Since its inception in October 2014, Mann Ki Baat has become a defining platform for direct communication between Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the people of India.
बेंगलुरु से सिस्टर सुरेखा जी भी जुड़ी हुई है।
I am really proud and honored, sir, to speak to Prime Minister of our country.
दिनेश जी नमस्कार।
सर जी प्रणाम।
The journey that started on the festival of Vijayadashmi has changed millions of lives. And since then, every month, millions of listeners tune in to hear Prime Minister's thoughts, ideas and inspirations that touches on a wide range of topics, from rural development and social issues to stories of unsung heroes. Broadcast on Doordarshan and All India Radio, Mann Ki Baat has become more than just a radio program in last 10 years. Whatever work is taking place in the society with a sense of collectiveness, it gets recognition through this radio program.
मन की बात के श्रोता ही इस कार्यक्रम के असली सूत्रधार हैं। मन की बात की 10 वर्ष की यात्रा ने एक ऐसी माला तैयार की है जिसमें हर एपिसोड के साथ नई गाथाएं, नए कीर्तिमान, नए व्यक्तित्व जुड़ जाते हैं।
What started as a simple radio program has now become a radio revolution. Mann Ki Baat reaches the nation in 22 local languages, 29 dialects, and even 12 foreign languages. Inspirational stories have been mentioned over 750 times, cleanliness campaigns around 65 times, women empowerment around 315 times. In April 2023, when the radio program completed its 100th episode, Prime Minister Modi said that any issue which is associated with the show turns into a mass movement.
मेरे लिए मन की बात ये एक कार्यक्रम नहीं है. मेरे लिए एक आस्था, पूजा, व्रत है.
The journey of Mann Ki Baat reflects India's progress and diversity, fostering a sense of unity and collective purpose. Tripti Tripathi's report for DD India.
Well, as the festive season approaches, communities across India are bustling with the preparation of Durga Puja, one of the most significant and celebrated festivals for the Hindu community. In fact, the Durga Puja of Kolkata, West Bengal, is also now one of the UNESCO heritage site.
Lush kashful or wild sugarcane grass swaying in the breeze. Clear skies still waiting for the haze of the winter to settle in. The signs are in the air, loud and clear. Autumn is here, and so are the preparations to invoke and worship the Indian goddess Durga. In fact, arrangements begin months before the festival to craft and install the Durga idols at the venues. Yes, it is the time of the year which Indians all over the world, especially the Bengalis, celebrate as Durga Puja. Durga Puja is celebrated by Hindus to commemorate and celebrate the victory of good over evil. This festival marks the intense battle between goddess of power Durga against the ferocious demon Mahishasur. In the Hindu scriptures, goddess Durga is said to have fought Mahishasur for 10 days, which finally ended in her triumph. While this festival is celebrated by Hindus in India and beyond, it was in 2021 when Durga Puja gained an unprecedented global recognition. It was in this year Durga Puja was inscribed on UNESCO's representative list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity. It is notable to mention that it is the first festival in all of Asia to gain such an illustrious tag. And why not? Durga Puja is a perfect blend of human effort, art, culture and religion.
It is a festival which gives the harmony and all society. Not only the Bengalis, only devotees are coming here, on all non-Bengalis, even some other community people also, they are visiting from several years also.
Besides a time of worship and rituals, Durga Puja is also a time of gathering of friends and families. This festival transcends the edges of India, and Hindus all over the world come together to celebrate in joy and bliss.
Durga Puja is a festival where people from all corners of life come together and pray for strength and the well-being of their families and friends. May this auspicious festive season be full of prosperity and happiness for you all. With camera person Ashish Sharma, this is Jayan Das reporting for DD India.
Well, Hindus are also celebrating the festival of Navratri, where devotees are flocking various temples to offer prayers, witnessing the traditional Aarti. The day marks the beginning of the 9-day festival dedicated to the worship of goddess Durga. Throughout India, Navratri celebrations involve the worship of 9 forms of the goddess over 9 days, with rituals including Garba, Aarti, decorations, recitals and the chanting of scriptures. The festival will culminate with the celebration of Dussehra on October 12, 2024. And on the first day of Sharadiya Navratri, devotees gathered at the Mumba Devi temple in Mumbai for a vibrant Aarti ceremony. Devotees were seen standing up in queues to offer their prayers to Ma Durga on the first day of Navratri. Temples across the country will see a surge of devotees to celebrate the fest for upcoming 9 days. And India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi also extended his warm wishes to the people on the occasion of Navratri. PM Modi took to X and said, and I quote, "Best wishes to all the countrymen for Navratri. We wish that this holy festival dedicated to worshipping Shakti proves auspicious for everyone. Hail, Mother Goddess. And the International Day of Non-Violence is observed on the 2nd of October, the birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi, a global beacon of peace and non-violence. On the occasion, India's permanent representative to the United Nations, Ambassador P. Harish, participated in commemorative event themed Gandhian Values and the UN Charter. Speaking at UN, he emphasized on protecting human rights and working towards a future where peace prevails. He also said that Mahatma Gandhi teachings remind that truth and justice are not achieved through violence, but through moral courage and peaceful dialogue.
Grapples with violence, armed conflicts and humanitarian emergencies, the ideals of non-violence, dialogue and tolerance promulgated by Gandhiji continues to guide our actions in ensuring peace and stability around the world. I believe it stands as a reminder to humanity to follow his ideals in letter and spirit, and to create a better and peaceful world, which is a fundamental objective of the United Nations.
And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. The Supreme Court will hear a case on air pollution in Delhi NCR today. The court is expected to scrutinize the actions taken by the Air Quality Management Commission to address stubble burning and improve air quality. The Indian Supreme Court will hear petitions today regarding the alleged irregularities in Tirupati Laddu Prasad procurement and distribution. The court previously questioned the state government on whether to continue the SIT investigation or transfer it to an independent agency. Nagaland's Department of Tourism has started preparations with full swing to celebrate the Silver Jubilee of the Hornbill Festival, which is scheduled from December 1st to December 10th at the Kisama Heritage Village of Nagaland. And still to come on DD India News Hour. India's unified payments interface's average daily transactions witnessed massive surge this year since the COVID pandemic. In cricket, ICC Women's T20 World Cup is all set to begin on Thursday. Host Bangladesh will take on Scotland in the opening game. And in football, Jonathan David strikes penalty shoot as Lille ends Real Madrid's 36-game-long unbeaten run.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lepakshi Khurana, on to some business news now. Average daily transactions on India's Unified Payment Interface or UPI surged over 8-fold this year since the pandemic. It rose from 60 million in September 2020 to over 500 million by September 2024. According to the National Payments Corporation of India, in September 2024 alone, UPI processed 15.04 billion transactions valued at 20.64 trillion rupees. The platform's growth is matched by a steady rise in the number of participating banks. And India, in a move to bolster its defences against cyber crime and enhance the regulation of virtual assets, has implemented several measures outlined in a recent report. India's institutions have shown substantial effectiveness in recovering stolen assets and combating cyber-enabled fraud. Paris-headquartered Financial Action Task Force acknowledged that since 2021, more than 6 billion rupees have been recovered by Indian Cyber Crime Coordination Centre through a portal and returned to the victims. And Samsung India workers began one-day non-violent hunger strike outside company's electronic plant in southern Tamil Nadu state on Gandhi Jayanti. They are demanding higher wages and union recognition from the Samsung management. And US President Joe Biden urged the US port owners on Wednesday to resolve the strike involving 45,000 dock workers that have disrupted the shipments at East Coast and Gulf Coast ports. A strike by 45,000 dock workers halting shipments at US East Coast and Gulf Coast ports entered its second day on Wednesday, with no negotiations currently scheduled between the two sides. The lack of progress is raising concerns among those reliant on shipments that the disruption could be prolonged. The International Longshore Men's Association union strike has blocked goods from food to automobile shipments across dozens of ports from Maine to Texas, which analysts warn will cost the economy billions of dollars a day.
There's a consortium of basically 6 owners that control all the ports from all the way to the East Coast down around the Gulf. And they've made incredible profits, over 800% profit since the pandemic. And the owners are making tens of millions of dollars in this. The last thing they need is to profit off of this. It's time for them to sit at the table and get this strike done.
An update on U.S. stock market now. The S&P 500 ended little changed on Wednesday, with technology shares gaining, but investors nervous about West Asia tensions and more U.S. labor data due this week. Data released early on Wednesday showed U.S. private payrolls increased more than expected in September, further evidence that the labor market is not deteriorating. Investors remained focused on September non-farm payrolls data due on Friday. The S&P 500 gained 0.014%. While the Nasdaq Composite gained 0.08%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 0.09%. The market ended September with strong gains after the Federal Reserve kicked off its monetary policy easing cycle with an unusual 50 basis point rate cut to shore up the jobs market. And the Japanese stocks jumped and the yen fell on Thursday as the risk of further tightening in monetary policy this year faded. Elsewhere in Asia, China's mainland markets are closed for a holiday, but Hong Kong's Hang Seng lost 2.5%, having scored 6.2% a day earlier. The benchmark is still up a staggering 30% in just 3 weeks after China announced a barrage of stimulus measures to revive a faltering economy. Whereas the euro was suffering significant losses as markets increased their bets that the European Central Bank will lower rates at each of its meetings between October and December, following top policy hawk Isabel Schnabel's statement that she expects inflation to return to target. Well, you're watching DD India News. Our time now for some sports news. The ICC Women's T20 World Cup is all set to begin on Thursday, with host Bangladesh going against Scotland in the opening game at the Sharjah Cricket Stadium. Bangladesh captain Nigar Sultana led the way as the 10 national skippers met in Dubai to mark the start of a tournament that will come to a conclusion in the same city on the 20th of October. Group A contenders, India will hope that 2024 is their year to a win first ICC World Cup, having been runners-up 3 times in the 2020 T20 World Cup and in 2005 and 2017 50-over tournaments. Harmanpreet Kaur's side comes into this event ranked 3rd in the world and have reached at least the semi-finals of the last 3 ICC Women's T20 World Cups. And a first-half penalty earned Lille a shocking 1-0 home victory over holder Real Madrid in the Champions League group phase on Wednesday, ending Real's 14-game unbeaten run in the competition. Jonathan David converted a penalty 3 minutes into first-half stoppage time to hand Real its first defeat since January. Real had not lost a single match in their previous 36 matches in all competitions. The result put League one side Lille on 3 points from 2 games in the new format of Europe's Premier Club competition. Real won its opening match against VfB Stuttgart and currently has 3 points. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now.